The house was never loud, not even when it was full. Lena had grown accustomed to the quiet, the way her father's chair creaked under his weight but never accompanied by words, the way her mother's sighs dissolved into the air like smoke, leaving no trace behind. Conversations were half-finished things, sentences abandoned mid-breath, as if speaking too much might shatter something none of them could name. But silence, she was learning, wasn't empty. It was a living thing. It curled around the dinner table like a third presence, thick enough to choke on. It lingered in the spaces between her parents, in the way their eyes slid away from each other, in the way her father's newspaper rustled just a little too loudly, as if to drown out something worse. And then there were the other silences, the ones that came after. Like the night the phone rang at 2:17 a.m., sharp and insistent, and her father's voice, low and urgent, cut through the dark. Then, nothing. No explanation, no footsteps down the hall. Just the heavy, suffocating quiet pressing against her door, holding its breath. Or the way her best friend, Myra, had stopped texting back after that last argument. Not with anger, not with finality, just silence. The kind that left Lena checking her phone at all hours, thumb hovering over the keyboard, wondering if she had imagined their entire friendship. Worst of all were the things she never said. The words that coiled in her chest like snakes, restless and venomous, but never found their way out. I'm scared. I need help. Why won't anyone look at me? Because the truth about silence was this: it wasn't just the absence of sound. It was the space where things festered, where questions grew teeth, where the unspoken became something far more dangerous. And Lena was starting to realize it was already too late to take any of it back. The cracks started small. Lena noticed them first in the way her mother's hands trembled when she poured coffee. Just a slight shake, nothing obvious, but enough that the liquid trembled at the rim of the mug, threatening to spill. No one mentioned it. No one ever did. Then there were the phone calls. Her father had begun taking them outside, his voice a low murmur beneath the hum of the night insects. She'd press her ear to the window, straining to catch words, but all she ever got were fragments. Not safe. They know. And then, the sharp click of the call ending, followed by that silence again, thick, deliberate, like a door being locked. One evening, she came home to an empty house. Not unusual, except for the note on the fridge, gone for groceries. Back soon. The misspelling gnawed at her. Her mother never made mistakes like that. She texted Myra again. Just one word. Hey. The message showed as delivered. Then read. Then nothing. The silence yawned wider. That night, she dreamed of drowning. Not in water, but in quiet, a suffocating, airless dark where she screamed and screamed, but no sound came out. She woke gasping, her throat raw, as if she'd really been trying. The next morning, her father's chair was empty. No creak, no newspaper. Just his coffee cup, untouched, growing cold. Her mother's smile was too tight when she said, "He's just running late." But her eyes darted to the window, to the street, like she was waiting for something. Or someone. Lena checked her phone again. Still no reply. The silence wasn't just spreading now, it was tightening. Like a noose. And she was starting to wonder if it was already around all their necks. The first real sound in weeks was the knock at the door. Not the polite, measured kind. This was sharp, insistent, the kind that rattled the frame. Lena froze halfway down the stairs. Her mother's breath hitched, just once, before she smoothed her expression into something neutral. "Stay here," she said, but her voice was wrong. Too light. Too careful. The door opened. A murmur of voices, one unfamiliar, low and urgent. Then her mother's reply, tight and clipped. "Not now. Not here." A pause. Then the stranger said something that made the air go thin. Lena couldn't hear the words, but she felt them. Like the split second before a car crash, that suspended moment when you know something is coming but there's no time to move. The door shut. Hard. Footsteps. Her mother reappeared, her face a carefully blank mask. "Who was?" Lena started, but her mother cut her off with a shake of her head. "Wrong house." A lie, smooth and practiced. The silence rushed back in, heavier than before. That night, she found her father's phone tucked between the couch cushions. Dead. When she plugged it in, the screen lit up with notifications, missed calls, all from the same unknown number. And one text, sent hours ago. "They're watching. Don't trust anyone." A sound from the hallway. Lena shoved the phone back, heart hammering. Her mother stood in the doorway, eyes flicking from the couch to Lena's face. "What are you doing?" "Nothing," Lena said. Too fast. Her mother didn't press. Just nodded, slow, like she already knew. Like the silence had told her. The next morning, Myra's name finally appeared on Lena's screen. Just 3 words. "We need to talk." Lena's fingers hovered over the keyboard. For the first time, she was afraid to answer. Because silence was one thing, but what came after it? And worse, what if it was already too late? Lena met Myra at the old train yard, where the tracks rusted under the weight of neglect. The air smelled of rain and iron, and the wind carried whispers through the broken windows of abandoned boxcars. Myra was already there, pacing. Not the restless, impatient pacing of the girl Lena used to know. This was something sharper. Like an animal sensing a trap. "You got my message," Myra said. Not a question. A statement, heavy with something unspoken. Lena nodded. "What's going on?" Myra's eyes darted past her, scanning the empty lot. "You need to stop asking questions." A chill prickled the back of Lena's neck. "Why?" Myra's jaw tightened. For a second, Lena thought she wouldn't answer. Then, barely above a whisper, "Because they're listening." "Whose?" "Your dad," Myra interrupted, voice cracking. "He wasn't just late, Lena. He's gone." The words landed like a blow. Lena's breath came too fast, the edges of her vision blurring. "What do you mean, gone?" Myra looked at her then, really looked at her, and Lena saw it, the fear, the guilt. He was digging into something. Something he wasn't supposed to know. A train whistle screamed in the distance. Too close. Too sudden. Myra flinched. "I shouldn't have come." She turned to leave. Lena grabbed her wrist. "Tell me what you know." Myra's pulse thrummed wild under Lena's fingers. "They'll hurt you too," she whispered. Then, softer, like she already regretted it, "Your mom isn't who you think she is." A crunch of gravel behind them. Myra's eyes went wide. "Run." Lena turned. The silence shattered. The figure stood 10 paces away, close enough to see the glint of a blade, far enough to be gone before Lena could scream. Myra was already moving, her sneakers kicking up gravel as she bolted for the chain-link fence. Lena didn't think. She ran. The world narrowed to the burn in her lungs, the slap of her own footsteps echoing off the rusted train cars. Behind her, another set of footsteps, faster, closer. She risked a glance back. Black gloves. A hood pulled low. No face. Myra was at the fence now, scrambling over the top like something wild. Lena followed, fingers tearing on the metal links as she hauled herself up. A hand grabbed her ankle. She kicked. Hard. A grunt. The grip loosened. Then she was over, falling, the impact rattling her teeth as she hit the dirt on the other side. Myra yanked her up by the elbow. "Car. Now." They sprinted past the old signal tower, its windows like hollow eyes watching them flee. Myra's beat-up Honda idled at the curb, driver's door still hanging open. They dove inside. Tires screeched. Only then did Myra speak, her voice raw. "They killed your dad." Lena's hand shook. "Who did?" Myra swerved onto the highway, her knuckles white on the wheel. "The people your mom works for." The words hung in the air, sharp as a knife. Lena's phone buzzed. A text. From her mother. "Come home. We need to talk." Myra's breath hitched. "Don't answer that." Lena stared at the screen. The last message she'd ever send her mother, or the first lie of the rest of her life. The phone buzzed again. "Lena, look behind us." The headlights in the rearview mirror were getting closer. The headlights seared through the rear windshield, flooding the car with a sickly yellow glow. Too bright. Too close. Faster, Lena breathed. Myra jammed the accelerator. The Honda's engine screamed in protest, but the headlights kept gaining. Lena's phone buzzed again. Another text from her mother. "Stop the car, sweetheart, before you get hurt." The pet name slithered down Lena's spine. Her mother hadn't called her that since she was a child. "She's lying," Myra hissed, swerving onto a side road. "She's with them." Tires squealed behind them as the pursuing car matched their turn. Lena twisted in her seat just in time to see the passenger window roll down. An arm extended. Something glinted in the moonlight. Gun! Myra jerked the wheel. A crack split the air. The side mirror exploded in a shower of glass. Lena's fingers dug into the dashboard. They're shooting at us. No, Myra spat. They are hurting us. Ahead, the road curved sharply, right toward the abandoned steel mill. The place where the city's old secrets went to rust. Another text. Lena didn't want to look. She looked. Last chance, Lena. Pull over and we'll talk. Just us girls. The words curdled in her stomach. This wasn't her mother. This was someone wearing her voice. Myra's hands trembled on the wheel. They're boxing us in. Lena saw it, then a second set of headlights ahead blocking the road to the mill. No escape. The phone buzzed one last time. You should have listened when we were quiet. The car behind them roared forward, and the world went white. The impact threw Lena forward. The seatbelt sliced into her collarbone. Glass rained. Then silence. Not the heavy, waiting silence she knew. This was hollow. Ringing. The kind that comes after explosions. Smoke curled from the Honda's crumpled hood. Myra slumped over the wheel, motionless. Blood trickled from her hairline. Myra. Lena's voice sounded distant, muffled, like she was hearing herself through water. Footsteps crunched on broken asphalt. Slow. Deliberate. Lena fumbled for the door handle. Jammed. A shadow fell across the shattered windshield. Oh, Lena. Her mother's voice. But wrong. Smiling. Lena looked up. Her mother stood there, flawless in a cream-colored trench coat, not a hair out of place. Behind her, two figures in black dragged the driver from the other car, the one that had hit them onto the road. His face was a ruined mess. You were never supposed to see this, her mother sighed, like a parent scolding a child for sneaking downstairs during adult conversation. Lena's breath came in shallow gasps. Dad was asking the wrong questions. Her mother tilted her head. Just like you. One of the figures stepped forward. Gloved hands. A syringe. Lena scrambled back. You work for them. Her mother's smile widened. Darling, I don't work for them. A pause. The night held its breath. I am them. The glove reached for the door. Lena did the only thing left. She screamed. And this time, the silence broke. Lena's scream tore through the night, raw, primal, a sound that didn't belong to the careful girl who had spent years swallowing words. For one fractured second, her mother flinched. Then the world erupted. Sirens wailed in the distance, too fast, too close. Not police. Something else. The figures in black snapped their heads toward the sound, hands flying to weapons. Her mother's smile faltered. That's not possible. Myra groaned, stirring against the steering wheel. Blood smeared her eyelashes as she blinked awake. Her hand crept toward the glove compartment. The lead enforcer raised his syringe. A gunshot cracked the air. The man dropped. A dark flower bloomed on his chest. Myra slumped back, a smoking pistol slipping from her fingers. Told you. They were listening, she gasped. The remaining enforcer lunged for Lena's door. A black SUV skidded to a halt inches from him, headlights blinding. Doors flew open. Lena. Down. A man's voice. Familiar. She threw herself sideways as gunfire erupted. When she dared to look, the enforcer was on the ground. The sub's passenger stood over him tall, broad-shouldered, face obscured by shadows. But she knew that silhouette anywhere. Dad. Her voice barely a whisper. The man turned. Not her father. A stranger with her father's eyes. We don't have much time, he said, yanking open her door. They've been inside your house for weeks. Behind him, her mother backed away, heels clicking on asphalt. Not fleeing. Regrouping. Sweetheart, she called, voice hunted with poison. You don't know what you're starting. The stranger pressed a gun into Lena's hand. Cold steel. Real weight. Yes, she does, he said. And in the ringing silence that followed, Lena made her choice. She pulled the trigger. The gunshot split the night like a thunderclap. Lena's mother staggered back, not hit, but surprised. Truly surprised for the first time Lena could remember. The bullet had grazed her shoulder, leaving a dark tear in her perfect trench coat. "Oh, my dangerous girl," she whispered, touching the fabric with almost maternal pride. The stranger, her father's ghost, his twin, whoever he was, shoved Lena toward the idling SUV. "Move. Now." Myra was already half-dragged, half-carried by another operative. Blood streaked the side of her face, but her eyes were alert, burning with something fiercer than pain. Lena's mother didn't chase them. She simply stood in the road, watching as they fled, growing smaller in the rearview mirror until she was just a pale smudge in the darkness. Inside the speeding SUV, the man who wasn't her father tore open a medical kit with his teeth. "They've been inside your head since you were 12, he said, pressing gauze to Myra's temple. "Subtle conditioning. Sleep suggestions. Your whole house was a listening post." Lena's fingers still smelled of gunpowder. "Where's my real father?" The SUV swerved onto the interstate. The man didn't answer at first. Then, the last message he sent was about you. Just 2 words. A semi-truck roared past, shaking the vehicle. "Wake up." Myra grabbed Lena's wrist. Her fingers were ice. "They made you forget things. Important things." The sub's radio crackled to life. A voice Lena recognized from years of school announcements, PTA meetings, the bland background noise of a life. "Asset retrieval protocol initiated. Containment radius 5 miles. All units converge." The man swore violently and slammed the accelerator. The engine howled. Lena looked down at her hands. They were shaking, but not from fear. From memory. The last piece slotted into place. "I know where they keep the records," she said. And as the convoy of black vehicles closed in behind them, Lena did something far more dangerous than pulling a trigger. She started talking. The safe house wasn't safe. Lena knew it the moment they pulled up to the unmarked warehouse. The air tasted wrong, like copper and burnt plastic. The stranger, "Call me Elias," he'd said, like names mattered now, hesitated a fraction too long before opening the door. Inside, the walls were papered with surveillance photos. Her photos. School. The mall. Her bedroom window. And in the center, a single corkboard with a timeline stretching back 12 years. "Project Lullaby," Myra read aloud, her voice hoarse. She traced a finger over the faded intake form. "Subject shows promising neural receptivity to." Christ. They were programming you like a damn computer. Elias moved to a rusted filing cabinet, working the lock. Your mother wasn't just one of them. She designed the protocol. The drawer screeched open. "You weren't just a subject, Lena. You were the prototype." The file he handed her was thin. Too thin for life. The first page bore a child's fingerprint in faded ink, her fingerprint next to a single word. "Terminated." A sound outside. Not tires. Not voices. The silence of engines cut mid-roar. Myra went rigid. "They are here." Elias already had his gun drawn. Back exit. Now. Lena didn't move. She was staring at the last page in the file, a photograph of her 5th birthday party. All the guests wore black wristbands. Even her father. "None of this is real, is it?" Her voice sounded distant, detached. "You're just another test." Elias' face did something complicated. "The only test left is whether you walk out that door." The first bullet came through the window. Glass exploded. Myra screamed. Elias returned fire, his shots precise, practiced. Lena looked down at the file again. At the small handwritten note in the margin, her mother's looping script. "When she remembers, erase everything." The door burst inward. Lena finally understood the true power of silence. It wasn't about what wasn't said. It was about listening for what shouldn't be said. And as the first shadow crossed the threshold, she opened her mouth and spoke the word they'd buried so deep even she hadn't known she remembered. The lights went out. Somewhere, very far away, her mother began to scream. The darkness didn't just swallow the room, it pulsed, like a living thing. Lena's mother's scream cut off mid-breath, as if something had reached down her throat and plucked the sound away. Then, a wet crunch. Something heavy hitting the floor. Myra's fingernails dug into Lena's arm. "What did you just do?" Lena didn't answer. The words still hummed in her bones, foreign and familiar all at once. A word that tasted like static and childhood nightmares. Elias' gun clattered to the ground. His breathing came in ragged, panicked bursts. Oh God! Oh God, it's true. Shapes moved in the dark. Not the intruders, something else. Shadows that didn't match the furniture, that slid along the walls with terrible, deliberate intent. A gurgle from the doorway. Then a sound Lena would never forget, the slick, meaty pop of a spine being peeled apart. Myra vomited. Elias grabbed them both, shoving them toward the back exit. Run. Don't look back. Don't ever say that word again. Lena's legs moved on their own. The night air hit her face like a slap. Behind them, the warehouse groaned, its metal skeleton twisting inward. Not collapsing. Folding. As if something were crushing it from a dimension they couldn't see. Myra sobbed as they reached the car. What the hell was that? Elias wrenched the door open, his hands slick with sweat. The reason they wanted her silent. Lena looked down at her hands. They were covered in blood. Not hers. Not anyone's. It was black. And it moved. Somewhere in the distance, sirens began to wail. Not police. Not ambulances. The kind of sirens reserved for disasters no one could explain. Elias turned the key. The engine didn't start. The radio did. A voice Lena recognized, her mother's, but wrong, stretched thin and guttural spilled from speakers. You shouldn't have remembered, sweetheart. Then the headlights flicked on by themselves, illuminating the figure standing 10 feet in front of the car. Lena's breath caught. It wore her father's face. But its smile was all teeth. The headlights trembled. Not from engine vibration. The air around the figure warped like heat haze, edges blurring as if reality itself couldn't decide what Lena was seeing. Elias made a sound like a dying animal. His fingers locked around the steering wheel, knuckles bone white. Don't look at its eyes, he whispered. Lena looked. They weren't her father's eyes. Not anymore. The pupils had split vertically, black slits swimming in irises that pulsed with colors that hurt to see. The thing wearing her father's skin tilted its head. The movement was all wrong, too fluid, too many joints. Lena Bell, it crooned in her father's voice, stretching the childhood nickname into something wet and glottal. You opened the door, sweet thing. Now let me in. Myra made a choked noise in the backseat. The black blood on Lena's hand squirmed, forming tiny, frantic patterns against her skin. Warning. Pleading. Elias fumbled for the gun at his hip. The thing's smile widened. Bang, it whispered. Elias' pistol detonated in its holster. The smell of burning flesh filled the car as he screamed, clawing at the molten wreckage of the leather at his hip. Lena couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The thing took a step forward, its shadow stretching impossibly long in the headlights, not behind it, but around them, tendrils of darkness licking at the car doors. Myra grabbed Lena's wrist. Say the word again, she begged. The one from the warehouse. The thing froze. For the first time, its smile flickered. Lena opened her mouth. The radio crackled to life again, her mother's voice shrieking in a language that made the windshield crack. Don't you dare. The night erupted in gunfire. Not from Elias. Not from the thing. From the shadows beyond the headlights, dozens of muzzle flashes, the sharp thwip of suppressed rounds shredding through the thing's stolen body. It jerked like a marionette, black ichor spraying from wounds that sealed shut as fast as they appeared. A figure in tactical gear emerged from the darkness, rifle raised. Lena's mother. Blood streaked her perfect trench coat. One eye was gone, the socket a ruin of pulsing black veins. But her remaining eye locked onto Lena's with terrifying clarity. You stupid girl, she hissed. You woke them up. Behind her, the thing that wasn't her father began to laugh. And the sky ripped open. The sky didn't just split, it unfolded, like wet paper peeling back to reveal something glistening and raw beneath. Lena's mother spun, rifle raised, but it was too late. The thing wearing her father's corpse was already changing, its flesh bubbling, elongating, fingers fusing into hooked talons as its jaw unhinged with a wet snap. Elias gasped, clutching his ruined hip. They're coming through. A sound cut him off. Not a scream. Not a gunshot. A note. High. Piercing. Like a violin string stretched to breaking. The ground trembled. The car windows shattered inward. Myra grabbed Lena's arm, her nails drawing blood. They were never trying to silence you, she choked. They were trying to silence it. Above them, the rift pulsed. Shapes moved in the wound of the sky, long, spindled things with too many joints, their forms slipping in and out of focus like a radio losing signal. Lena's mother fired, not at the creatures, but at the thing that had been her father. The bullets tore through it, but the wounds didn't bleed. They sang, each impact releasing a distorted, shuddering note that made Lena's teeth ache. The thing laughed again, its voice no longer even pretending to be human. "Lena Bell," it crooned, "you called us home." Elias lurched forward, slamming his palm onto the dashboard. The car engine roared to life, headlights blazing. "Close your eyes," he screamed. Lena didn't. She saw the exact moment the thing lunged, not at her, not at Myra, but at her mother. Saw the way its body stretched, elongating like taffy, jaws widening into a black maw lined with spiraling teeth. Her mother didn't scream. She whispered a single word, one Lena recognized. The same word she'd spoken in the warehouse. The rift shuddered. And then, the world went white. And silent. Finally silent. The silence was absolute. No breath. No heartbeat. Just the sterile hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Lena blinked. The white walls pulsed in time with her thoughts, as if the room itself was breathing. She wasn't alone. Myra sat across from her, strapped to a steel chair, her pupils dilated black with terror. A thin trail of saliva dripped from her slack jaw. Her lips moved soundlessly, forming the same word over and over. "Run." Lena tried to stand. Cold metal bit into her wrists, restraints. A mirror spanned the far wall. Two-way glass. Someone was watching. The door hissed open. Lena's mother stepped inside, pristine in a white lab coat now, her missing eye replaced with a smooth black lens that whirred softly as it focused. "Welcome back, sweetheart." Her voice was wrong. Too crisp. Too recorded. Lena's tongue felt thick. Where's the rift? The monsters? Your father." Her mother smiled, all teeth. "Oh, Lena. That wasn't real." A screen flickered to life on the wall. Grainy footage played. Lena, strapped to a bed, screaming as shadowy figures injected something into her neck. 6 months ago. Her mother tapped the lens over her missing eye. "You fought so hard during conditioning. Broke 3 of their ribs." Myra made a guttural noise, thrashing against her restraints. "Ah." Her mother pressed a button. Myra's body went rigid, a silent scream twisting her face. "The word you remembered." Her mother leaned close, her breath smelling of antiseptic. "Just a trigger. To keep you compliant." Lena's pulse pounded in her ears. None of this made sense. The warehouse. The rift. The thing. A chime sounded. Her mother straightened, suddenly alert. "Good. They're ready for you." The restraints released with a click. Lena didn't move. Because through the two-way glass, she saw them. Figures in black, holding a struggling, familiar form. Elias. His mouth was sewn shut. And in his eyes, pure terror. Her mother offered a hand. "Shall we begin?" The silence wasn't empty anymore. It pressed against Lena's eardrums like deep ocean pressure, throbbing in time with the flickering fluorescent lights overhead. The sterile white walls seemed to pulse, closer, then farther away as if the room itself was breathing. Myra's mouth moved in perfect silence behind the restraints, her lips forming the same word over and over. "Not real. Not real. Not real." Lena's wrists burned against the cold metal cuffs. She pulled harder, feeling skin tear. The blood looked wrong, too dark, almost black in the artificial light. The door slid open without a sound. Her mother stood in the threshold, backlit by the hallway's glow. Her lab coat was impossibly white, starched stiff with precision. The mechanical lens where her eyes should be whirred softly as it focused, a perfect black marble set in ruined flesh. "Did you really think you escaped?" Her voice came from everywhere at once, the walls, the ceiling, inside Lena's skull. The screen on the wall flickered to life. Grainy footage played in a loop. Lena, strapped to a medical table, screaming soundlessly as shadowed figures forced a needle into her neck. The date stamp in the corner read, "Subject 7, termination protocol initiated." Her mother's polished shoes clicked against the floor as she approached. The warehouse? The rift? That charming little word you remembered. She leaned down, her breath smelling of rubbing alcohol and something underneath, something spoiled. Just stimuli. To see how deep the conditioning went. Myra convulsed suddenly, her back arching against the restraints. A thin line of black liquid trickled from her nose. Lena strained against the cuffs. Stop it. Her mother didn't move. Didn't blink. The mechanical I word. Why? She's not really here. The screen changed. Now it showed Myra, real. Myra lying motionless on a concrete floor somewhere, eyes wide and unblinking, a dark pool spreading beneath her head. Such a loyal friend, her mother murmured. Right until the bullet. A chime sounded soft, melodic, almost familiar. Her mother straightened, smoothing her coat. They're ready for you now. The restraints released with a hiss. Lena didn't move, because through the two-way glass, she saw them. Figures in black surgical masks, holding down a thrashing, familiar form. Elias. His lips were stitched together with coarse black thread. And in his wild, pleading eyes, recognition. Her mother extended a hand. The skin was perfect, unlined. Shall we see how deep the rabbit hole goes? Somewhere, beneath the silence, Lena heard it. The faintest click of a tape recorder starting. And she knew. The worst silences aren't empty. They're staged. The moment Lena took her mother's hand, the world shattered. Not like glass. Like a mirror made of ice dropped onto stone. A spiderweb of fractures spreading through reality itself. The white room peeled away in jagged strips, revealing the truth beneath. A cavernous laboratory. Walls lined with glass tanks. Each one holding Elena. Some floated peacefully, eyes closed. Others screamed soundlessly against the glass, their palms leaving bloody smears. The oldest looked nearly decayed, skin sagging from bones. The youngest couldn't have been more than 6. Her mother's grip tightened, nails digging into Lena's wrist. We've had this conversation 137 times, she whispered. You always choose wrong. Elias thrashed against his captors, the stitches in his mouth snapping one by one. Lena. His voice was raw, ruined. The word, say it backwards. A gunshot echoed. Elias slumped. Her mother didn't even glance at the body. Such a tedious man. Lena's breath came in short, panicked bursts. The black blood on her hand stirred, forming shapes, letters, and a message. DRAWOFTONKLAT. Backwards. Always backwards. The word burned in Lena's throat. The real word. The one they'd buried so deep even their conditioning couldn't fully erase it. Her mother's mechanical eye clicked, zooming in. Don't. Lena closed her eyes. And spoke. Not the word. A name. Miriam Elise Carter. Her mother, no. The woman wearing her mother's skin stiffened. That's not my. Born March 18, 1983, Lena continued, the memories flooding back. Assigned to Project Lullaby in 2009. Reported deceased 2012. She opened her eyes. But you didn't die. You became her. The lab lights flickered. The tanks trembled. The woman's face rippled, features swimming like ink in water. For one terrifying second, Lena saw her true face, not a monster. Just a woman. Terrified. Trapped. You weren't silencing me, Lena whispered. You were silencing her. A siren wailed. The tanks began to crack. The Lenas inside opened their eyes. And screamed. The sound was earth-shaking, glass-shattering, world-ending. Her mother, the real one, the one buried deep inside the imposter, had left one last failsafe. One final word. Not to control. To free. As the laboratory collapsed around them, Lena finally understood the unseen impact of silence. Some truths aren't meant to be buried. Some voices aren't meant to be stilled. And no cage, no matter how well built, can hold a scream that's been waiting a decade to be heard. The last thing she saw before the darkness took her was hundreds of tank laners smiling as they dissolved into light. And the imposter's final, furious shriek. You weren't supposed to remember. Then, silence. True silence. For the first time in 13 years.